Chapter 21, The Whispers of the Star Sector. The milestone of 50 internal years marked not an ending, but the calibration of a far grander clock. Inside the 1,000 square kilometer profound-grade small world, the air hummed with spiritual energy so dense it condensed into faint, violet morning mists across the central lake. Chen sat atop the central pavilion, his enlightened sovereign aura seamlessly suppressed beneath the modest veneer of a fifth-layer foundation establishment practitioner. To any external observer, he remained a quiet, low-profile resident of Wang City. Yet, through the permanent spatial anchor connecting his small world to the silent Lotus Valley on the Ethelgard star continent, his awareness spanned vast reaches of the upper worlds. "Father," Yi Qingfeng reported, entering the pavilion with a soft bow. At 50 internal years of age, his mastery over talisman crafting had reached the Grade 4 Grandmaster tier. The monitoring arrays along the outer perimeter of the Ethelgard continent have picked up unusual spatial fluctuations. The Star Sovereign Alliance is assembling a coalition to investigate the void corruption leak that affected the lower provinces. Chen took a slow sip of Earthcore spiritual wine. They are late to the table. The regional military alliance in Bastion has already fractured due to their own paranoia. What is the alliance's true motive? They seek the origin of the proxy supplier known as the Unseen Pavilion, Yi Qingfeng replied, unfolding a runic map that glowed with shifting leyline paths. Our distribution networks across the middle continents have grown so pervasive that the continental lords suspect an ancient, hidden holy land is operating without a celestial permit. A faint, knowing smile touched Chen's lips. Let them search. The beauty of an invisible trade network lies in its lack of a physical heart. Every proxy merchant is bound by the family Divine Tree's imprint. Even under divine soul-searching, their memories reveal only disjointed, legitimate trade transactions with independent traveling caravans. He set his chalice down. However, caution remains our absolute rule. Qingfeng, increase the complexity of the concealment runes around the silent Lotus Valley teleportation gate by 2 layers. Shift all primary commodity exchanges to decentralized black market auctions in the outer star sectors. Understood, Patriarch, Yi Qingfeng bowed deeply. Inside the small world, the second and third generations were thriving. Over 200 descendants now populated the time-dilated paradise. Yixuan's agricultural zones yielded hundreds of tons of high-purity spiritual crops monthly, while Yi Chang and Yi Tianfeng's forging complexes produced arrays of defensive armor capable of turning away strikes from nascent soul cultivators. Returning his consciousness to his physical frame in Wang City, Yi Chen stood by the window of his quiet study. Outside, the mortal streets were peaceful. The gray, corrupted mist that had terrified the regional sects months ago had been completely cleansed from Wang City's borders by his hidden poison arrays, leaving the city as a pristine oasis amidst a turbulent province. Let the Star Sovereign Alliance exhaust their resources chasing phantom holy lands across the upper realms. Beneath the quiet soil of Wang City, the Yi clan's roots continued to expand, silent and unbreakable. Chapter 22, The Second Spatial Layer. 3 months of physical time passed in Wang City, translating to 2.5 years inside the accelerated small world. As the family population expanded beyond 250 bound members, the system responded to the milestone of bloodline prosperity. Ding, family lineage has reached 250 bound members with 100% loyalty. Family fortune heavily reinforced by the family Divine Tree. Congratulations, host. You have received a milestone upgrade. The spatial layering subdimension unlocks an isolated 500 square kilometer secondary realm with 20x time dilation. Congratulations, host. You have received the Grandmaster Scripture of Celestial Array Inversion. Yi Chen's eyes flared with silver light as the profound knowledge flooded his mind. The 20x time dilation of the new secondary realm meant that 1 day in the outside world would equal 20 days inside. Without hesitation, Yi Chen stepped into his small world and accessed the newly unlocked subdimension. The sky within this secondary layer was a deep, tranquil sapphire. The spatial laws here were 50% denser, making it the ultimate environment for high-tier alchemy refinement, deep meditation, and breakthrough isolations. This secondary realm will serve as the clan's core sanctuary, Yi Chen declared to Qin Yao, Su Qingge, and his senior children gathered before him. Only those who have reached the Foundation establishment realm or above and possess specialized mastery in our primary crafts will be granted access to cultivate here. He turned to his eldest son. Change, relocate the primary grandmaster forging furnaces into this secondary space. With 20-fold time dilation, our production of high-tier spirit armors and array anchors will double without altering our external footprint. Change obeys the Patriarch's decree, his son replied, his eyes shining with excitement. Chen then summoned his proxy clone, Chen, who had been resting within the small world since returning from the Ethelgard primordial trial. Using the newly acquired celestial array inversion techniques, Chen refined a series of Grade 5 identity-masking talismans and integrated them directly into the clone's lotus root structure. Chen commanded mentally. The clone opened its eyes, bowing in unison with Chen's thought. Patriarch. You will step through the Ethelgard portal once more, Chen ordered. Establish an independent, low-key research stall within the Starfall Trading Hub, the largest neutral commerce center in the upper 1,500 worlds. Do not engage in competitive auctions. Focus exclusively on acquiring damaged, ancient jade slips, extinct plant seeds, and raw spatial ores that other sects consider useless junk. I obey, Chen replied smoothly, taking the spatial bag containing mid-grade spirit stones and stepping through the silver portal into the silent Lotus Valley. By utilizing the secondary realm's 20x time dilation, Chen could refine high-grade pills and process rare materials at double the efficiency, while his proxy clone gathered forgotten treasures from across the star sector. The hidden machinery of the Yi clan was operating at unprecedented velocity. Chapter 23, The Silent Vanguard. While the proxy clone Chen established his presence in the Starfall Trading Hub, trouble flared along the outer borders of the Bastion province. A rogue demonic faction known as the Shadowblood Pavilion, fleeing persecution from the central continents, attempted to establish a covert stronghold in the mountainous forests 10 miles south of Wang City. Unaware of the forbidden zone reputation that Wang City had gained among the regional sects, the demonic faction deployed scout squads to raid local villages and gather blood essence for their sacrificial arrays. Inside his study in Wang City, Chen felt the subtle disturbance in the local ley lines as the demonic scouts set up their blood-tracking nodes. Sloppy, aggressive, and noisy, Chen noted, setting his book down. If they draw a full-scale righteous coalition to this province, my quiet lifestyle will be interrupted by endless grandstanding elders. He opened the spatial rift into the small world and entered the Western Valley, where the Chu twins were training the second-generation combat squads. Chu Linger and Chu Yuer instantly dropped to their knees. Master. A rogue demonic faction has entered the southern forest, Chen said calmly. They are setting up blood sacrificial arrays. Linger Yuer takes 6 second-generation descendants who have reached the peak Foundation establishment realm. Utilize the Grade 5 Phantom concealment cloaks Change forged. Chu Linger raised her head, her eyes flashing with sharp intent. What level of force shall we apply, Master? Absolute annihilation, executed in complete silence, Chen commanded. Do not engage in dramatic battles. Use the Ashen Void poison to seal their meridians, then deploy the soul-severing talismans to erase their physical forms and karmic traces. To the outside world, they must appear to have simply vanished into thin air. We obey the decree, the twins chimed in unison. That night beneath a moonless sky, the silent vanguard slipped out of the spatial rift. Deep within the southern forest, the Shadowblood Pavilion's elder, a mid-stage nascent soul cultivator, was barking orders at his disciples as they drew blood runes onto an altar. Before the elder could finish his sentence, an invisible, odorless mist drifted through the camp. Instantly, the elder felt his Danshan freeze solid, his nascent soul wrapped in icy chains of alchemical restriction. He gasped, falling to his knees as his power plummeted. Out from the shadows stepped 8 hooded figures wrapped in pure darkness. No words were spoken. Chu Linger waved her hand, and 6 Grade 5 soul-severing talismans detonated in absolute silence. A wave of black, spatial distortion swept across the clearing. Within 3 minutes, the entire camp, 200 demonic disciples, their elder, their altars, and every drop of spilled blood, was cleanly dissolved into microscopic dust. absorbed directly into the soil. By dawn, the forest was quiet. Birds sang in the trees, and the wind blew fresh over the clean dirt where a demonic stronghold had stood hours before. Returning to his study in Wang City, Chen calmly poured himself a fresh cup of tea. The threat had been erased before a single mortal in the city even knew it existed. His family remained safe, his secrets remained absolute, and the Hidden Patriarch continued his timeless, low-key journey toward ultimate immortality. Chapter 24, The Whispering Silk. The absolute erase of the Shadowblood Pavilion left no ripples in the mortal realm, but in the spiritual undercurrents of the lower realms, silence can be louder than a thunderclap. 2,000 miles to the east, in the opulent headquarters of the Pavilion of Heavenly Whispers, the premier information network of the 3 neighboring provinces, a soul lantern went dark. It belonged to Elder Blood Serpent, the mid-stage nascent soul cultivator whom Chu Linger and Chu Yuer had quietly dissolved. Inside the quiet sanctuary of the small world's secondary realm, Chen watched through an array monitor as the news rippled through external channels. With 20x time dilation, he had 20 days of prep time for every single day the outer world spent puzzling over the demon faction's sudden disappearance. "They won't find a trace," Zixuan reported, presenting a jade slip. Sister Linger and Sister Yuer ensured the ashen void poison broke down even the localized spiritual residue. To the Pavilion of Heavenly Whispers, it appears as though a spatial anomaly simply swallowed them whole. "Good," Chen said smoothly, adjusting the collar of his simple blue robe. "Let them speculate about wild spatial ruptures. Unpredictable nature is far less tempting to investigate than a hidden master." While the outside world deliberated, Chen focused on internal consolidation. Using the Grandmaster scripture of celestial array inversion, he began refitting the core array of the main small world. Rather than merely hiding the dimension, the new inverted array absorbed ambient spiritual friction from the outer world, converting passive worldly noise into pure, unrefined qi to feed the family's spiritual farms. Outside, in Wang City, Chen remained the unremarkable, courteous shopkeeper who occasionally bought low-tier herbs from passing caravans. But within his palm, the hidden wheel of the Yi clan turned ever faster. Chapter 25, The Starfall Anchor. In the upper 1,500 worlds, the Starfall trading hub was a place where continents floated like lily pads in an endless sea of astral fog. Giant Leviathan ships forged from star iron docked at colossal stone piers, trading goods from thousands of realms. Through his proxy clone, Chen moved among the crowded bazaars of the lower district. Dressed as a solitary, low-profile rogue cultivator with a suppressed aura, Chen set up a modest wooden stall in a quiet alley off the main thoroughfare. His sign was simple: wares of the Forgotten Realm, exchange for raw ores and broken jade slips. While other merchants hawked glowing grade 6 weapons and high-grade pills, Chen's stall displayed only rusty spatial anchors, chipped array plates, and dormant, ancient seeds that major sects had deemed withered beyond repair. "Friend, you're selling garbage in the heart of Starfall," chuckled a passing merchant clad in silk robes, eyeing the stall. "Who would waste spirit stones on dead seeds?" Chen offered a modest, polite smile. "Every piece of dust holds a story, fellow Taoist. I merely seek those who appreciate quiet histories." What the passing merchant didn't know was that every dead seed bought by Chen was immediately sent through the spatial portal back to Chen's small world. There, under Zixuan's nurturing techniques and the hyper-rich spiritual soil of the secondary realm, these dormant ancient species were revived within weeks. By the end of the month, Chen had acquired over 300 ancient jade slips containing incomplete array fragments, along with 24 seeds of the long-extinct 9-leaf star lotus, a vital ingredient for refining soul-nourishing pills. Back in Wang City, Chen pieced together the incomplete array fragments using his celestial array inversion knowledge. A grand picture was slowly forming. The scattered fragments belonged to a forgotten, inter-realm teleportation network built by a long-lost trade guild from the primordial era. If Chen could quietly restore this network from the shadows, the Yi clan would possess an invisible highway spanning across dozens of star sectors, completely bypassing the expensive, heavily monitored toll gates of the Star Sovereign Alliance. Chapter 26, The Unmarked Realm. 100 miles north of Bastion Province, the sky fractured. A jagged fissure of emerald light ripped across the sky above the mist-shrouded mountains, the opening of the evergreen secret realm, an ancient pocket dimension that resurfaced only once every 3 centuries. Within hours, grand flying vessels from the region's elite forces, the Sun-Moon Sect, the Heavenly Sword Pavilion, and the great Jiang royal family anchored above the valley. Young prodigies clad in gleaming armor and silk robes gathered, eyeing each other with sharp competition. In a quiet corner of the valley, 6 young figures dressed in simple, nondescript gray traveling robes stood among a group of rogue cultivators. To the scanning spiritual senses of the sect elders above, they appeared as nothing more than ordinary late-stage Foundation establishment practitioners trying their luck. They were Yi Chen's second-generation descendants, led by Yi Tianfeng and Yi Chang's eldest daughter, Yi Meiling. Remember Father's 3 iron rules, Yi Tianfeng transmitted mentally to his cousins, his expression completely calm. Rule 1, victory without exposure. Rule 2, if forced to reveal strength, leave no surviving witnesses or traces. Rule 3, our target is only the spatial mineral veins, not the flashy treasures the sect disciples will bleed for. Understood, Brother Tianfeng, Yi Meiling replied, adjusting her plain bamboo hat. Beneath her cloak sat 3 hidden sleeves of Yi Chen's refined ashen void poison, and 5 grade 5 concealed array talismans. When the emerald fissure expanded, signaling the realm's opening, hundreds of figures surged forward like a swarm of locusts. The Yi clan squad slipped in quietly among the rear guard, completely unnoticed. Chapter 27, Shadows in the Forest. Inside the evergreen secret realm, the air was heavy with dense, unrefined primordial qi. Massive ancient trees towered thousands of feet into the air, and distant roars of spirit beasts echoed across the landscape. While the elite disciples of the Sun-Moon Sect rushed toward the central floating palace, where ancient scriptures and high-tier weapons were rumored to be stored, Yi Tianfeng led his squad deep into the jagged, low-yield southern canyon. According to the leyline map Father provided, the central palace is a trap designed to drain the blood essence of overconfident intruders, Yi Meiling observed, unrolling a glowing runic compass. The real core of this pocket dimension is the decaying void core stone vein at the bottom of this ravine. Before they could begin extraction, the foliage rustled. 5 young cultivators clad in the crimson robes of the Blood Sovereign sect stepped into the clearing, their faces twisted with arrogant grins. Well, what do we have here? The leader sneered, a Peak Foundation establishment youth holding a jagged bone saber. A bunch of country bumpkins who lost their way. Hand over your storage rings and your lives. Yi Tianfeng didn't waste a single breath on dialogue. He raised his hand and lightly snapped his fingers. Snap. An invisible, paper-thin barrier, the grade 5 silent boundary array, instantly enveloped a 100-meter radius, cutting off all external light, sound, and spiritual communication. Before the Blood Sovereign disciples could process what was happening, Yi Meiling flicked her wrist. A pale, odorless mist spread at terrifying speed. The moment the crimson-robed youths inhaled, their dantions froze, and their spiritual energy collapsed like a house of cards. What kind of poison is this? The leader gasped, falling to his knees as his veins turned a faint, dull gray. Execute, Yi Tianfeng said softly. 2 second-generation descendants stepped forward with phantom-like speed. Their plain iron swords moved in simple, flawless trajectories. Within 3 seconds, 5 heads hit the dirt. Yi Meiling immediately deployed 3 soul-severing talismans. A quiet wave of spatial distortion washed over the bodies, vaporizing the corpses, their weapons, and even the blood on the grass into raw atomic dust. Clear, Yi Meiling said smoothly, stowing her compass. Total elapsed time, 6 seconds. No spatial or spiritual residue remaining. Good, Yi Tianfeng nodded. Let's begin mining. Chapter 28, The Art of Disappearing. For 3 days, while the major sects fought bloody battles in the central palace, losing dozens of core disciples to ancient guardians and treacherous traps, the Yi clan squad operated like invisible ghosts in the southern canyon. Utilizing the advanced spatial tools forged by Yi Chang inside the secondary realm, they cleanly extracted over 10 tons of high-purity void core stone and 40 stalks of ancient soul-nurturing grass. Every time they encountered a hostile party or greedy rogue team, The result was always the same: a silent array, a cloud of undetectable poison, and complete erasure from existence. Inside the small world, Chen sat on his pavilion deck, watching the squad's progress through a mirrored water array. "They move efficiently," Xianxia remarked, setting down a tray of spiritual fruits. "Tianfeng's command is steady, and Mei Ling's execution of your poison techniques is nearly flawless." "They have learned well," Chen replied with a quiet smile. "In the cultivation world, the loud prodigies die young. The ones who know how to harvest in silence are the ones who touch eternity." On the fourth day, the secret realm began to collapse as its internal ley line collapsed, a side effect of the major sects destroying the central palace's core formation. Panicked, surviving disciples scrambled toward the exit portal, covered in blood and bruised from intense battles. The Sun Moon sect lost 2 of its top young masters, while the Heavenly Sword Pavilion barely escaped with half their force. Among the frantic crowd pouring out of the Emerald Fissure, the Sixi clan descendants stumbled out, looking appropriately exhausted, bruised, and terrified. They dropped to the ground like ordinary, traumatized rogue cultivators who had barely survived the ordeal. "Look at those poor fools," an elder from a mid-tier sect muttered, glancing at Yi Tianfeng's group with disdain. "Rushing into ancient realms without power, they're lucky to return with their lives." Beneath his plain bamboo hat, Yi Tianfeng kept his head down, suppressing a quiet smile. Inside Yi Meiling's specialized spatial ring lay enough spatial raw materials to upgrade the Yi clan's small world teleportation network tenfold. Chapter 29, Unseen Rewards. Back inside the 20x time-dilated secondary realm of the Yi clan, the 6 returnees knelt before Yi Chen in the central pavilion. On the table before Yi Chen sat 10 tons of shimmering violet void core stone and neatly organized jade boxes containing ancient herbs. "You performed admirably," Yi Chen said, his voice echoing smoothly across the pavilion. "You adhered to the rules, prioritized concealment over vanity, and secured core resources without leaving a single trace or drawing the eyes of the major sects. Ding, second-generation clan members have completed their first real combat trial with 100% stealth and 0 casualties. Family prestige and Hidden Foundation expanded significantly. Congratulations, host. You have received the Celestial Forge World Blueprint. Congratulations, host. You have received 3x Grade 6 Dao-infused Meridian Elixirs." Yi Chen waved his sleeve, and 6 shining pills floated down toward the 6 young descendants. "These elixirs will purify your meridians and pave the way for your smooth breakthrough into the core formation realm," Yi Chen declared. "Go into secluded cultivation in the secondary realm. With the 20x time dilation, you will achieve your breakthroughs in complete safety before 2 weeks pass in the outside world." "Thank you, Patriarch." The 6 descendants bowed in unison, their eyes burning with intense reverence. After they departed, Yi Chen picked up the Celestial Forge World Blueprint. His eyes narrowed slightly as he read through the complex runic structures. The blueprint detailed a method to merge spatial ores with the small world's core, allowing the creation of an automated, self-sustaining forge network powered by the world's own natural elemental ley lines. With this, Yi Chang and the clan's blacksmiths would no longer need to manually stoke grand furnaces. The small world itself would forge high-tier spiritual armors and array plates automatically. Chapter 30, The Shadow Over the Province. While the Yi clan quietly processed their massive harvest inside their accelerated paradise, a storm was brewing across the Bastion province. The total annihilation of several elite disciple squads inside the Evergreen Secret Realm, including 5 core members of the Blood Sovereign sect and 3 talented youths from regional noble families, had sent shockwaves through the upper ranks of the regional powers. Because Yi Meiling had used soul-severing talismans to erase the bodies and karmic traces of their targets, the soul lanterns of those deceased disciples had shattered back at their sect headquarters without revealing a single image of their killer. In the grand hall of the Blood Sovereign sect, an ancient, angry voice echoed across the mountains. 5 core disciples vanished without a trace. No blood curse returned, no soul projection triggered, the Grand Elder roared, slamming his fist onto his bone throne. This is not the work of spirit beasts or environmental traps. Someone in this province possesses a method to completely sever karmic tracking. Grand Elder, a shadowy messenger bowed low. Our intelligence indicates that the Pavilion of Heavenly Whispers lost an elder in the exact same manner near Wang City months ago. Could there be an ancient, unregistered evil faction operating from the shadows of our province? Investigate, the Grand Elder ordered, his eyes glowing with ruthless bloodlight. Form a joint inquisitorial unit with the Sun Moon sect. Search every city, every rogue market, and every small clan within 3,000 miles. Anyone caught possessing unknown spatial arrays or advanced concealment talismans is to be captured for soul-searching. Outside his quiet tea house in Wang City, Chen sat by the window, gently fanning a small clay kettle. Through his widespread monitoring arrays, he heard the frantic movements of the incoming inquisitorial forces. A faint, cold light flickered in his dark eyes. The big fish were finally coming out to hunt, but they had no idea that the quiet, peaceful city they were marching toward was sitting right on top of a sleeping dragon. Chapter 31, The Shadow Grid. The joint inquisitorial force of the Blood Sovereign sect and the Sun Moon sect descended upon the Bastion province like a flock of ravenous vultures. Led by Grand Inquisitor Zhao, a late-stage nascent soul expert known for his ruthless soul-searching techniques, the coalition deployed 300 elite enforcement disciples across the province. They laid down the Seven Suns Crimson Grid, a wide-area spirit-scanning array designed to detect unusual spatial distortions, hidden subdimensions, and unrecorded high-grade talismans. In his quiet Wang City study, Chen felt the faint, high-frequency hum of the scanning grid pass over his residence. Thanks to the Grandmaster's scripture of celestial array inversion, the barrier surrounding his small world didn't just resist the scanning waves, it absorbed them. To Grand Inquisitor Zhao's detection plates, Wang City appeared entirely ordinary, a peaceful, low-energy mortal hub with a few low-level Foundation establishment guards. "Father," Yi Qingfeng reported via mental transmission from the secondary realm. "The Inquisitors have set up a command outpost 50 miles north. They are aggressively interrogating local clan patriarchs and using soul search techniques on rogue cultivators who were near the evergreen secret realm." "They are getting reckless," Yi Chen said calmly, flipping a page of his book. "When powerful men find no clues, they start creating their own answers to appease their superiors. We shall give them the exact answer they are desperate to find." Yi Chen summoned his proxy clone, Mu Chen, back from the Starfall trading hub. "Mu Chen," Yi Chen instructed, "it is time to give the Inquisitors their monster." Chapter 32, Weaving the Phantom Thread. That evening, 30 miles outside Wang City, a small caravan belonging to the Dark Moon Pavilion, a notorious rival demonic sect operating from the neighboring province, was quietly traversing a mountain pass. Sailing through the night sky like an ethereal ghost, Mu Chen intercepted the caravan. Suppressing his aura to match the exact spiritual signature of the long-lost Shadowblood Pavilion, Mu Chen unleashed a brief, controlled burst of localized spatial distortion. With flawless precision, he used a single Ashen Void poison capsule and 2 Grade 5 soul-severing talismans to annihilate the caravan's lead guards, leaving behind just enough unburned, scorched cloth bearing the emblem of the Dark Moon Pavilion. Crucially, Mu Chen purposely allowed one terrified low-level scout to escape, dropping a fabricated jade slip near the survivor's feet. Inside the jade slip was a forged record detailing a secret plot. The Dark Moon Pavilion had covertly absorbed the remnants of the Shadowblood Pavilion, utilizing forbidden spatial techniques to ambush rival sect disciples in the secret realm to fuel an ancient blood sacrifice array. By dawn, the surviving scout had been captured by Grand Inquisitor Zhao's hounds. Inside the inquisitorial command tent, Zhao examined the retrieved jade slip and the residual spatial decay on the scorched cloth. His eyes flared with ruthless triumph. "So, it was the Dark Moon Pavilion all along," Zhao laughed coldly, slamming his fist onto the map table. "Using forbidden spatial arrays to swallow our core disciples and absorb their blood essence. They thought they could operate in our backyard without leaving a trace." "Inquisitor," a sub-commander cautioned, "should we investigate the low-energy zones around Wang City further?" "Fool," Zhao snapped. "Wang City is a barren mortal pit. The Dark Moon Pavilion's main operational stronghold is in the Red Mist Ravine. Deploy all forces immediately. We strike before they realize their scout has fallen. Chapter 33, The Crimson Theater. Within 48 hours, the full force of the joint inquisitorial coalition mobilized, marching away from Wang City and converging on the Red Mist Ravine, the primary domain of the Dark Moon Pavilion. From the top of the pavilion inside his small world, Chen watched the spectacle unfold through an array mirror. The Dark Moon Pavilion, completely bewildered by the sudden, unprovoked assault by two top-tier sects, fought back with desperate, vicious fury. They denied any involvement in the secret realm disappearances, but Grand Inquisitor Zhao was far too invested in his discovery to listen to reason. Boom! Spiritual explosions rocked the northern mountains for 3 days and 3 nights. Nascent soul cultivators traded world-shattering blows, blood rained over the valleys, and 2 major regional threats proceeded to tear each other to pieces. "A masterstroke master," Chulinger murmured, standing at Yi Chen's side with her sister. "The Dark Moon Pavilion's secret strongholds are being utterly eradicated, and the Joint Inquisitorial Unit has lost nearly 40% of its elite forces in the siege. When 2 tigers fight in a pit, the wise farmer simply watches from the hill," Yi Chen replied smoothly. "Grand Inquisitor Zhao gets his grand victory to report to his sect ancestors. The demonic factions in our province are wiped out, and our home remains untainted. And the best part," Chu Yuer added with a sly grin, "is that the Inquisitors think they solved the case. They will never scan this region again." Chapter 34, The Scavenger's Harvest. While the 2 factions bled each other white in the Red Mist Ravine, Yi Chen did not let the opportunity go to waste. Under the cover of the chaotic battles, he deployed the Chu twins and a squad of second-generation descendants clad in phantom concealment cloaks. Operating on the fringes of the battlefield, they quietly harvested the fallen, picking up discarded high-grade storage rings, broken nascent soul weapons, and stray spatial materials left in the wake of the Grand War. Without striking a single blow or taking a single life, the Yi clan swept up over 300,000 mid-grade spirit stones, dozens of rare cultivation techniques, and 5 intact Grade 5 flying vessels. Back in the secondary realm, Yi Chang was already dismantling the captured flying vessels, smelting their rare star iron frames into raw materials for the small world's expanding defensive infrastructure. Ding! Host has successfully orchestrated the Inquisitor's redirect scenario. Major regional threats neutralized. 2-2 clan security rating, absolute 0 exposure achieved. Congratulations, host, you have received the primordial leyline seed grade 6. Congratulations, host, you have received the spatial mirror domain array blueprint. Yi Chen held the shimmering, golden primordial leyline seed in his hand. When planted in the center of his small world, this seed would grow into a self-sustaining, high-tier spiritual vein, permanently raising the ambient chi density of both spatial layers by 50%. Chapter 35, The Sanctuary Unbroken. A month after the grand battle of Red Mist Ravine, the northern mountains fell quiet once more. The Dark Moon Pavilion was no more, its strongholds burned to ash. Grand Inquisitor Zhao had marched his remaining forces back to the central continents, declaring the provincial purge a total success and receiving grand rewards from his sect elders. The Bastion province was now cleaner, quieter, and safer than it had been in a century. In Wang City, the morning sun broke over the horizon, casting golden light across the tiled roofs. Yi Chen sat outside his modest shop, pouring hot water over fresh tea leaves. To the passing townspeople and local merchants, he was still just Boss Yi, the quiet, polite man who sold tea and simple wooden crafts, never causing trouble and always offering a warm smile. Inside the small world, however, the primordial leyline seed had taken root. Golden streams of pure, primordial chi surged through the underground ley lines, causing ancient spiritual trees to bloom overnight. Within the 20x time-dilated secondary realm, Yi Tianfeng and 11 other second-generation descendants were smoothly approaching their core formation breakthroughs under the safest conditions in the upper worlds. Yi Chen took a slow, satisfying sip of his tea. The outer world was loud, chaotic, and obsessed with bloody glory. But here, beneath the quiet surface of an ordinary mortal city, the patriarch of the Yi clan brewed his tea, guarded his family, and laid down the foundation for an eternal dynasty. Chapter 36, The Heavenly Canopy. The air inside the secondary realm of the small world had turned impossibly dense. With the primordial leyline seed fully rooted deep within the world's mantle, liquid qi cascaded down the central mountains in shimmering, violet streams. Thanks to the 20-fold time dilation, the 2 weeks that had passed in the peaceful streets of Wang City translated to nearly 10 months of uninterrupted, isolated cultivation within this sapphire-skied sanctuary. Inside the central meditation hall, 12 second-generation descendants sat in a perfect circular formation. At the center sat Yi Tianfeng, his breathing rhythmic and deep, his skin glowing with a faint, metallic luster. Surrounding him were his siblings and cousins, including Yi Meiling, Yi Zixuan, and Yi Changjia's eldest son. Each of them had reached the absolute apex of the late-stage foundation establishment realm. Their dantians hummed like tightly coiled springs, brimming with condensed spiritual liquid on the verge of solidifying into golden cores. High above the hall, on the floating glass pavilion, Yi Chen stood with his hands folded loosely behind his back. Beside him, Qin Yao and Su King watched the 12 young figures with a mixture of pride and quiet anxiety. "Husband," Qin Yao whispered, her fingers lightly gripping the embroidered sleeve of her gown. 12-core formation breakthroughs at the exact same moment. Even in the grand, holy lands of the upper realms, such a feat would draw a heavenly tribulation so massive it could flatten 3 mountain ranges. Are you certain the spatial boundary can hold? Yi Chen turned his head slightly, offering her a soothing, quiet smile. If we were relying on standard defensive arrays, Yar, your concern would be justified. A 12-fold combined heavenly lightning tribulation is not merely additive. The heavenly laws perceive simultaneous breakthroughs as an act of defiance, compounding the strike's power exponentially. He unrolled a complex blueprint shimmering with silver light, the spatial mirror domain array blueprint. However, Yi Chen continued smoothly, the heavens operate on strict, immutable laws of cause and effect. The lightning seeks a target to strike and a path to discharge. We are not going to fight the thunder. We are going to teach it to feed our world. "Father," a clear, resonant voice called out from the courtyard below. Yi Tianfeng stepped out from the meditation hall, followed closely by Yi Meiling and the 10 other descendants. They knelt in unison, their eyes shining with absolute resolve. "Our foundations are stable and our mental state is clear. We are ready to condense our cores." Yi Chen looked down at his children and relatives. "Tianfeng, Meiling, all of you listen carefully. The pain of core condensation is sharp, but the fear of the heavenly lightning is merely an illusion of the mind. When the clouds gather, do not panic, do not deploy your defensive talismans, and do not disperse your focus. Keep your eyes inward. Solidify your cores. Leave the heavens to me." "We obey the Patriarch's decree," the 12 voices echoed, filling the valley with unwavering conviction. Yi Chen flicked his wrist. 12 azure pills floated gently through the air, coming to rest in the palms of the 12 youths. "These are grade 5 soul-anchoring pill essences refined using the 9-leaf star lotus. Swallow them now. Let your spiritual consciousness fuse with your dantians." Without a moment's hesitation, all 12 descendants swallowed the pills in unison and sat cross-legged upon 12 white jade plinths arranged according to the star-gathering formation. Rumbled. The moment the pills dissolved, 12 towering pillars of spiritual light erupted from their heads, piercing straight toward the sky. The sheer concentration of power broke the local spatial equilibrium. In the sky above the small world, the sapphire-blue atmosphere began to churn violently. Dark, ink-black clouds condensed from nothingness, swirling into a massive, spiraling vortex that spanned 300 miles. Swirling within the black depths were jagged arcs of crimson and gold lightning, the 5 elements' heavenly destruction thunder. The sheer pressure of the gathering storm pressed down like an inverted mountain. The grass across the secondary realm flattened, and the lakes rippled as if boiling. "It's coming," Su King murmured, her hand resting on the hilt of her sword. "The heavenly pressure, it's already reaching the peak nascent soul threshold." Yi Chen remained motionless. His dark eyes reflected the surging red lightning above. "King Feng, activate the primary array nodes." From the eastern mountain peak, Yi King Feng's voice boomed through a transmission rune. "Eastern array nodes 1 through 48 engaged. Spatial mirroring online." "Change," Yi Chen commanded. "Power the array spirit." From the grand forge below, Xianxia pulled a massive lever forged from void core stone. Secondary leyline power rooted. The forge world core is synchronized, Father. Chen raised his right hand, his fingers twisting into a complex ancient madra. Spatial mirror domain, invert. Crack. A blinding flash of crimson lightning, thick as an ancient dragon, tore through the black clouds, surging straight toward the 12 cross-legged youths on the jade plinths. The air shrieked as space itself cracked under the divine wrath of the heavens. Yet just 50 meters above the heads of the 12 descendants, the air suddenly rippled like the surface of a disturbed pond. A colossal, invisible mirror forged from pure spatial laws expanded horizontally across the entire sky. When the red lightning dragon slammed into the spatial mirror, there was no deafening explosion. There was no shattering impact. Instead, the lightning dragon simply vanished into the mirror's surface. A split second later, 300 miles away in the uninhabited, barren wasteland layer of the primary small world, a giant rift opened in the sky. The exact same red lightning dragon burst out, slamming violently into a massive, underground array pit lined with thousands of tons of raw, unrefined spatial ore. Boom! The thunderous roar echoed through the barren layer, but within the secondary realm where the descendants sat, the sound was reduced to a soft, distant hum, like the gentle purr of a sleeping cat. It redirected the strike entirely, Xianxia gasped, her wide eyes watching the sky above. Not just redirected, Chen explained, his voice low and steady. The spatial mirror domain breaks the physical lightning down into its rawest component, pure, highly concentrated heavenly law energy. Look at the array pit in the lower realm. Inside the primary small world storage pit, the thousands of tons of void core stone were glowing with intense, blinding white light. The violent lightning was being absorbed, refined, and converted into pure liquid lightning essence, flowing directly into the clan's automated forge furnaces to heat the grand smithing fires. Rumble, rumble, crack. Realizing its first strike had been completely swallowed without harming a single hair of the intruders, the heavenly vortex roared in fury. The dark clouds turned blood-red as 48 lightning bolts unleashed simultaneously, tearing through the heavens in a magnificent, terrifying storm of absolute destruction. Father, Yimailing's voice trembled slightly from the jade plinth below, though her posture remained rock-solid. The pressure! The heavens are trying to crush our spiritual seas directly through mental resonance. Stand firm, Mailing. Chen's voice pierced through the mental pressure like a golden bell, ringing clearly within the minds of all 12 descendants. The heavens strike your body because they fear your growth. Your dantions are the mold, your will is the hammer. Temper your cores within the storm. Yes, Patriarch, Yimailing shouted, her head snapping back as a brilliant golden orb began to solidify inside her abdomen. Above them, Chen's hands moved in a fluid, hypnotic rhythm. The spatial mirror expanded, layer upon layer, forming an inverted pyramid in the sky. 48 strikes of heavenly thunder slammed into the spatial grid. Each strike was instantly trapped, reflected through 7 spatial dimensions, stripped of its destructive karmic weight, and channeled harmlessly into the small world's underground leyline network. With every thunderbolt absorbed, the small world didn't suffer, it expanded. The ambient chi inside the secondary realm spiked by another 20%, as the residual heavenly laws dissolved into the sky, showering the land in a gentle, glowing mist of spiritual rain. Down on the jade plinths, the 12 youths were bathed in this divine rain. The intense, purifying energy washed over their meridians, smoothing out every minor flaw in their cultivation foundations. Buzz, buzz, buzz. One by one, golden light erupted from their chests. Inside Yi Tianfeng's dantian, a perfect, flawless golden sphere spinning with 5-colored light settled into place, a grade 1 flawless golden core. Right beside him, Yimailing's core solidified, radiant, and pristine, another grade 1 flawless golden core. Within the span of 3 incense sticks, 11 grade 1 golden cores and 1 grade 2 golden core were successfully condensed. The sky above, stripped of its targets and thoroughly drained of its power by the inverted array, slowly began to disperse. The blood-red clouds faded back into the serene, sapphire sky of the secondary realm. The 12 newly minted core formation cultivators opened their eyes simultaneously. The power radiating from their bodies was vast, sharp, and perfectly controlled. They rose to their feet, turned toward the floating pavilion, and fell to their knees, bowing until their foreheads touched the cool marble. "We thank the Patriarch for bestowing upon us the Tao of immortal perfection," the 12 young experts shouted in unison, their voices ringing across the mountains with absolute, unyielding devotion. Chen stepped out to the edge of the pavilion, his simple blue robe fluttering in the gentle breeze. He looked down at the future of his family, 12 young core formation experts, trained in total secrecy, possessed of flawless foundations, and bound by absolute loyalty. "Rise," Chen said gently, his voice carrying to every corner of the realm. "Today you have taken your first step into the true world of cultivation, but remember, a golden core is merely a key. The lock it opens depends entirely on how quietly you walk." "We will remember Father's teachings," Yi Tianfeng declared, his fists clenched tightly. "We shall remain as silent as dust and as unyielding as the mountains." Ding, 12 family members have successfully broken through to the core formation realm with 0 casualties and 0 external exposure. Family core strength increased exponentially. Congratulations, host. You have received the Celestial Divine Tree Awakening Tier 2. Congratulations, host. You have received the Grandmaster Scripture of Karma-Veiling Void Arrays. Chen felt a warm, golden pulse surge through his soul as the system rewards integrated. The family divine tree growing in the center of the primary small world shook gently, its roots expanding deeper into the earth, sprouting glowing golden leaves that emitted a permanent veil of karma-erasing mist around the entire dimension. Now, even if a celestial immortal from the highest realms performed a soul deduction on the Bastion province, they would see only empty sky and ordinary mortal soil. Chen smiled, turning his gaze back toward the quiet, peaceful streets of Wang City visible through his spatial monitor. The dragon had grown another set of claws, but to the world outside, the tea shop owner was still just brewing his morning pot. Chapter 37, The Unseen Shadow Network. 3 months of peaceful, physical time passed in Wang City. Inside the 20x time-dilated secondary realm, 5 full years of quiet development had taken place. With 12 core formation descendants now leading the family's internal divisions, the Yi clan's production capabilities had reached an astonishing scale. Yi Chang's automated forge, powered by the redirected Heavenly Thunder and Void Core stones, produced hundreds of high-grade spirit weapons, concealed armor suits, and array plates every week. Meanwhile, Yi Zixuan's agricultural zones yielded rare, centuries-old herbs in matter of months. However, abundant resources brought a new challenge: internal saturation. Inside the pavilion office, Yi Chen sat across from his eldest son, Yi Qingfeng, and his proxy clone, Mu Chen. "Father," Yi Qingfeng reported, handing over a glowing ledger. "Our storage vaults inside the small world are overflowing. We currently hold over 8,000 grade 4 spiritual pills, 300 sets of grade 5 spirit armor, and over 50 tons of processed spatial ores. If we do not begin circulating these goods into the broader markets of the upper realms, our growth will plateau due to a lack of rare, top-tier raw materials that only exist in distant star sectors." Yi Chen took the ledger, scanning the numbers with an approving nod. "We have built the mountain, now we must build the rivers, but as always, exposure is death. Mu Chen, how is the situation at the Starfall Trading Hub?" The proxy clone Mu Chen bowed slightly. "Patriarch, my small stall in the lower district of Starfall has established a solid reputation as a quiet, reliable buyer of useless junk, ancient jade slips, withered seeds, and damaged spatial anchors. However, major merchant guilds have begun noticing that my stall never runs out of mid-grade spirit stones despite never selling high-tier weapons. Curiosity is the first step toward investigation," Yi Chen noted, setting the ledger down. "If they cannot see what you sell, they will assume you are smuggling. Therefore, we will give them a store they can see, but one they can never touch." Yi Chen unrolled the newly acquired Grandmaster Scripture of Karma-Veiling Void Arrays. "We shall establish the Unseen Pavilion," Yi Chen declared, his dark eyes reflecting a cool, strategic brilliance. "It will not exist as a physical shop in any city or star hub. Instead, we will deploy 32 automated, subspatial trading nodes across the 5 major commerce sectors of the upper 1,500 worlds." Yi Qingfeng's eyes lit up with sudden realization. Automated trading nodes, you mean trade without merchants? Precisely, Chen smiled. Each node will consist of a small hidden spatial array hidden inside ordinary rocks, abandoned buildings, or beneath sea beds in neutral territory. Buyers will approach the node, place their raw materials or rare seeds into a spatial slot, and receive a pre-priced voucher. The node will automatically verify the material's purity, execute the exchange, and deposit the goods directly into our small world through a one-way spatial rift. Brilliant, Chen chuckled softly. If a major sect tries to trace the node, they will find only a self-destructing array plate that vaporizes into cosmic dust the moment it is tampered with. There will be no merchants to interrogate, no soul-searching to perform, and no physical supply lines to trace. Furthermore, Chen added, looking at Chen, you will no longer act as a simple stall owner. You will step forward as the external messenger of the unseen pavilion, a mysterious, quiet figure who only appears once every 3 months to host anonymous, high-tier proxy auctions in neutral astral space. What shall be our primary currency, Patriarch? Qingfeng asked. Spirit stones. No, Chen shook his head firmly. Spirit stones are common. We have enough. The unseen pavilion will trade only for 3 things: ancient spatial ores, extinct divine seeds, and incomplete primordial jade slips. We will let the ambitious major sects fight over shining gold while we quietly collect the forgotten building blocks of the universe. Qingfeng obeys the Patriarch's decree. Qingfeng bowed deeply. I will begin crafting the 32 subspatial node ray plates immediately. Chen turned to his clone. Deploy the first 8 nodes along the trade routes surrounding the Starfall trading hub. Let the quiet whispers of the unseen pavilion begin. Within 2 weeks, 8 nondescript, moss-covered stone pillars sitting in the outer asteroids of the Starfall sector began emitting faint, silver light whenever a cultivator approached with rare, unrefined ores. A rogue cultivator, desperate for pills to heal his damaged meridians, placed a piece of strange, dark gray spatial iron he had found in a cosmic rift into the stone pillar's slot. Buzz! The stone pillar hummed. A second later, a small jade bottle containing 3 grade 5 meridian-soothing pills, purity level 99%, slid out from a hidden compartment. The dark gray iron vanished into thin air. The rogue cultivator gasped, clutching the jade bottle to his chest in absolute shock. N99% purity, without a single merchant present. What kind of ancient god built this place? The rogue cultivator fled in terror and joy, vowing to keep the secret to himself. Yet within days, quiet, breathless whispers began spreading among the low-level scavengers and rogue cultivators of the star sector. Deep in the outer asteroids, there exist silent altars. Give them forgotten dirt, and they will bestow divine medicine. The unseen pavilion had opened its doors to the universe, yet its true master remained seated in a quiet tea shop, thousands of realms away. Chapter 38, The Shadow of the Star Sovereign. The rapid, silent expansion of the unseen pavilion's automated trading nodes sent quiet ripples through the highest echelons of the upper 1,500 worlds. Within 6 months, over 200 automated nodes had been covertly deployed across 12 star sectors. Tons of rare spatial minerals, forgotten primordial jade fragments, and dormant ancient seeds poured into Chen's small world every single day. In return, thousands of rogue cultivators, small clan elders, and desperate independent cultivators received flawless, high-purity pills and resilient armor plates. Because the unseen pavilion offered fair, automated trades without the extortionate taxes imposed by major merchant guilds, it quickly became the sanctuary for independent cultivators across the realms. However, such massive trade volumes could not remain hidden from the true rulers of the upper realms forever. In the grand celestial palace of the Star Sovereign Alliance, the supreme coalition governing the top 300 worlds, a grand meeting was taking place inside a hall made of solid star crystal. Sitting upon a high floating throne was Inquisitor General Jiang, an ancient, powerful great vehicle realm cultivator whose eyes burned with miniature galaxies. Below him stood dozens of inspectors and grand elders from elite merchant guilds. Inquisitor General, a guild leader bowed low, his face pale with frustration. Over the past 6 months, our guild's revenue from raw mineral purchases in the middle star sectors has dropped by 35%. A mysterious force known as the Unseen Pavilion is siphoning off over 80% of all rare spatial ores and ancient jade fragments directly from rogue scavengers. Inquisitor General Jiang's voice echoed through the hall like rolling thunder. Have you located their headquarters, their supply convoys, their grand alchemists? No, General, the guild leader trembled. They have no headquarters. They operate through thousands of self-destructing, subspatial stone nodes hidden in random asteroids, mountain caves, and deep-sea trenches. Whenever our enforcers attempt to breach a node, the array self-destructs instantly, destroying all spatial coordinates. Even our highest-tier soul deduction elders cannot trace the origin of the pills. Jiang's galaxy-like eyes narrowed dangerously. Flawless pills, automated spatial arrays, total karma veiling. This is not the work of a rogue merchant guild. This bears the distinct signature of an ancient, pre-collapsar holy land of the primordial era emerging from deep seclusion. A heavy silence fell over the celestial hall. The phrase, primordial holy land, carried immense weight. Such ancient factions possessed world-destroying arrays and supreme inheritances that even the Star Sovereign Alliance feared to provoke lightly. General, an inspector stepped forward carefully. How should we proceed? Should we deploy the Star Enforcers to destroy every automated node we locate? Idiots, Jiang barked cold disdain. If this is indeed a dormant primordial holy land testing the waters of our era, destroying their nodes will only provoke their ancient ancestors into declaring open war upon our alliance. We do not strike blindly into the fog. Jiang waved his massive, glowing sleeve. Send out a celestial summons through our official channels. Announce that the Star Sovereign Alliance recognizes the Unseen Pavilion's trading legitimacy in the neutral zones. Furthermore, invite their external messenger to attend the upcoming Grand Astral Commerce Fair in the Central Star Sector 3 months from now. Jiang's lips curled into a cold, calculating smile. If they refuse the invitation, it proves they are weak and hiding behind cheap tricks, in which case we crush them. If they accept, we will use the fair to measure their true strength. Chapter 39, The Invitation in the Teacup. Back in Wang City, the afternoon sun cast warm, amber rays through the lattice windows of Chen's study. Chen sat by his desk, holding a glowing golden scroll that had materialized out of thin air through Chen's spatial link, the official celestial summons from the Star Sovereign Alliance. Beside him, Xianxia poured a fresh cup of tea, her face filled with quiet concern. Husband, the Star Sovereign Alliance is the supreme authority of the upper worlds. Their Inquisitor General is a great vehicle realm monster. Is this invitation a trap? It is a test, Yar, Chen replied calmly, picking up his teacup and blowing gently on the steam. A predator does not strike an unfamiliar shadow. They saw our automated nodes, realized they could not trace our karma, and concluded that we must be an ancient, terrifying primordial holy land returning from deep slumber. King Feng, standing nearby, chuckled softly. They overthought themselves into our trap. They believe they are dealing with an ancient, eccentric supreme elder who commands vast, hidden armies. Let them believe it, Chen said, his dark eyes shining with quiet wit. Fear of the unknown is the greatest shield in the universe. If we decline the invitation, they will suspect our true foundation is thin and launch a full-scale search across all lower provinces. But if we attend, Chen's proxy voice resonated from the spatial mirror, we must give them a performance worthy of an ancient primordial holy land. Precisely, Chen nodded. King Feng, prepare our highest-grade assets. Chang will forge a Grade 6 celestial void carriage using the void core stones and star iron we harvested from the secret realm. It will be pulled by 9 automated, Grade 5 spirit puppet dragons. Xianxia's eyes widened slightly. 9 spirit puppet dragons. Husband, isn't that far too ostentatious for your low-profile rule? In our home, modesty is our armor, Chen explained smoothly, looking at her with a gentle smile. But when an ancient holy land steps out into the world, appearing low-profile would make them look weak and suspicious. True ancient power is indifferent, grand, and utterly unreachable. We will display just enough terrifying luxury to convince the Star Sovereign Alliance that provoking the Unseen Pavilion would cost them half their star sectors. Chen turned to his proxy clone. You will ride the celestial void carriage to the Grand Astral Commerce Fair as the first envoy of the unseen Holy Land. You will wear the Grade 6 illusion-veiling robe, suppressing your aura so deep that even a great vehicle realm expert sees only an abyss of endless space when looking at you. I obey the Patriarch's command, Chen bowed deeply within the mirror. And what will be our goal at the fair, father? Yi Qingfeng asked. Simple, Yi Chen smiled, taking a slow sip of his tea. We will buy their most expensive ancient relics, trade our surplus pills for their highest-grade spatial seeds, sell nothing that reveals our true location, and leave them terrified of our shadows. Chapter 40, The Grand Entrance. 3 months passed in the outside world, translating to 5 years of meticulous preparation inside the accelerated secondary realm of the small world. The central star sector was the beating heart of the upper 1,500 worlds. Thousands of floating palaces, colossal celestial continental landmasses, and grand flying arcs hovered in a majestic ring around a glowing artificial star. Today was the opening of the Grand Astral Commerce Fair. Over 10,000 elite sects, royal families, and grand merchant guilds had assembled in the Great Astral Plaza, a floating continent carved entirely from white jade. High above the plaza, Inquisitor General Jiang sat in his central floating box, alongside 5 other great vehicle realm ancestors, their powerful spiritual senses scanning the incoming VIP arcs. Has the unseen pavilion responded? An ancient lady from the immortal flower sect asked, adjusting her jade hairpins. Their automated trading nodes have been operating for nearly a year now. My sect's alchemists tested their meridian-soothing pills. The purity is 99.9%. Not a single impurity grain. Such pill-refining techniques have been lost since the primordial era. They will come, Inquisitor General Jiang said coldly, his galaxy-patterned eyes fixed on the outer spatial boundary. Or they will prove themselves to be frauds. Rumbled. Suddenly, the space above the great astral plaza shattered. It did not open with a violent explosion or a grand rift. Instead, the sky parted silently, like heavy silk curtains being pulled aside by invisible hands. Pure, golden mist flowed out from the spatial tier, smelling of ancient pine and primordial chi. Out from the rift stepped 9 colossal, 5-clawed dragons forged entirely from shimmering silver star iron and glowing spatial runes. Their eyes burned with crimson spirit fires, and their vast, puppet-built bodies emitted an aura equivalent to peak nascent soul beasts. Behind the 9 dragons, pulled by silver chains of spatial law, hovered a grand, single-room pavilion carved from ancient, black void-core stone. The pavilion was simple, devoid of gaudy jewels, yet its very presence caused the local spatial laws of the plaza to bend and warp inward. Sitting quietly inside the open-air pavilion on a plain bamboo chair was a single figure dressed in a dark blue robe, Chen. He held a simple jade teacup in his hand. His face was obscured by a gentle, swirling mist of silver karma-veiling light. To the spiritual senses of the 10,000 cultivators below, Chen sat there like a bottomless black hole, devoid of life, yet overflowing with the ancient, terrifying weight of the void itself. The entire great astral plaza fell dead silent. Dozens of proud young masters from top-tier sects dropped their heads, unable to bear the strange, spatial pressure radiating from the void core carriage. Even the great vehicle realm ancestors sitting in the high boxes straightened their backs, their faces growing extremely solemn. 9 peak nascent soul puppet dragons as draft beasts, the ancient lady from the immortal flower sect gasped in a low whisper. Forged entirely from pure void core stone. That single carriage contains enough spatial ore to build 20 interrealm teleportation gates. Inquisitor General Jiang's eyes narrowed to tiny slits. He secretly activated his celestial eye technique, trying to peer through the silver mist surrounding Chen's face to read his soul foundation. The moment Jiang's divine sense touched the silver mist, his mind slammed into a vast, terrifying illusion of an ancient divine tree spanning millions of miles across the cosmos, its roots wrapping around entire star systems. Gasp! Jiang snapped his eyes shut, taking a half-step back in his high box, a single drop of cold sweat rolling down his temple. Direct spatial karma backlash, Jiang thought, his heart pounding against his ribs like a war drum. A divine tree primordial inheritance. It really is an ancient holy land that survived the great collapse. High above the plaza, sitting in the void core carriage, Chen took a slow, calm sip from his teacup. Through the proxy connection, thousands of realms away in his quiet Wang City study, Chen set his own teacup down on his desk and smiled faintly. The performance had begun, and the universe was listening to every quiet word. Chapter 41, The Root of the World Tree. Inside the grand auction pavilion of the Astral Commerce Fair, the atmosphere was suffocatingly tense. High above the polished white jade stage, the auctioneer, an ancient, peak-nascent soul elder from the Celestial Merchant Guild, held aloft a jade pedestal sealed within 3 layers of heavy spatial talismans. Resting atop the pedestal was a gnarled, petrified wooden fragment no larger than a man's forearm. It was jet black, dull, and covered in hairline fractures that bled faint, gray ash. To 99% of the cultivators present, it looked like nothing more than a piece of charcoal salvaged from an ancient celestial fire. "Our final item of the morning session," the auctioneer announced, his voice echoing across the thousands of floating seats. "A fossilized remnant salvaged from the deepest depths of the primordial void rift. It possesses no active spiritual energy, resists all known pill-refining techniques, and cannot be forged into weaponry. However, its spatial density is 300 times that of refined star iron. Bidding starts at 50,000 mid-grade spirit stones." A heavy silence settled over the auditorium. 50,000 mid-grade spirit stones for a dead piece of ancient wood was an absurd price. 55,000, muttered a young master from the Sun Moon sect, mostly out of idle curiosity. From the floating box reserved for the unseen pavilion, Chen, sitting quietly inside the void core carriage pulled by the 9 star iron dragons, raised a single slender finger. Through the proxy link, Chen's calm voice echoed directly into the auction house via the carriage's automated speaker. 500,000 mid-grade spirit stones, paid in flawless-grade soul-anchoring pills. The entire hall gasped in unison, a 10-fold jump in bidding, and offered in flawless-grade pills, a currency far more precious than raw spirit stones. The Sun Moon sect young master's face flushed bright red, but before he could shout a counterbid, an elder beside him slammed a hand onto his shoulder, hissing, "Silence, you fool! That is the envoy of the unseen pavilion. Do you wish to draw the ire of an ancient primordial holy land over a piece of dead wood?" 500,000 going once, twice. The auctioneer's hand trembled slightly as he struck the golden gong. "Sold to the unseen pavilion." Within minutes, the sealed jade box was delivered to the void core carriage by 2 trembling guild attendants. Chen accepted the box with a slight nod, handing over a spatial pouch containing 50 flawless pills. The moment the spatial rift closed behind the carriage, returning the fragment directly into the small world, Chen stood up from his desk in Wang City. Inside his palm, the jet-black wooden fragment began to vibrate violently. The dormant family divine tree at the center of the small world emitted a deafening, golden hum that resonated through the earth, air, and spatial boundaries of the entire dimension. "Ding, host has acquired the dormant root fragment of the primordial world tree. Family divine tree has recognized its ancestral origin, commencing fusion and assimilation." Boom! A golden wave of absolute spatial energy erupted from the center of the small world, sweeping across every valley, mountain, and river. The black wooden fragment dissolved into billions of golden runic threads, surging straight into the roots of the family divine tree. The tree surged skyward, its trunk expanding until it pierced through the clouds. Golden leaves rustled with the sound of chanting gods, and its roots dug deep into the spatial fabric of the universe itself, anchoring the small world directly into the primordial void. Ding, fusion complete. Small world spatial upgrade triggered, unlocked. The 3rd spatial layer, the primordial void chamber. Spatial metrics, 100 square kilometer isolated domain. Time dilation metric, 100x time acceleration. 1 day in outside world equals 100 days inside the void chamber. Chen stood at the edge of the floating pavilion, his dark eyes reflecting the brilliant golden light enveloping his domain. 100 times time dilation. A single month in Wang City would equal over 8 years of uninterrupted time inside this deep layer. "Husband," Xianxia rushed to his side, her hands trembling as she looked at the newly formed sapphire portal hovering beneath the divine tree's canopy. The spatial laws inside that new layer. They are so dense that spiritual chi has condensed into solid crystal formations on the valley floor. This is no longer just a small world, Yar, Chen murmured, a rare, profound glint of pride flashing in his eyes. This is the nursery of an immortal dynasty. Chapter 42, The Shadow Academy. The birth of the third spatial layer, the primordial void chamber, marked a fundamental shift in the Yi clan's strategy. While the primary layer, 1x time, served as the peaceful residence for the clan's daily life, and the secondary layer, 20x time, functioned as the industrial heart for mass production and resource refining, the tertiary layer, 100x time, was reserved for a far more sacred purpose, the cultivation of elite, absolute talent. Inside the quiet hall of the secondary realm, Yi Chen gathered his 6 most trusted second-generation children: Yi Tianfeng, Yi Meiling, Yi Zixuan, Yi Chang's, Yi Qingfeng, and Yi Chen's eldest daughter, Yi Ruoxi. Father Yi Tianfeng knelt, his face filled with solemn reverence. The power radiating from the third layer is overwhelming. Even as a peak core formation cultivator, stepping near the entrance makes my bloodline hum with energy. The primordial void chamber operates under 100-fold time dilation, Yi Chen explained, his voice low, steady, and filled with unquestionable authority. A year spent inside its borders is a century of human life, but time without purpose is merely decay. Therefore, we will establish the Yi Clan Shadow Academy within its borders. Yi Meiling's eyes lit up with sharp intelligence. Father, will we be selecting pupils from the third generation? Precisely, Yi Chen nodded. We will select 20 of the most talented, disciplined, and calm third-generation grandchildren. Those who have reached the age of 10 and demonstrated exceptional loyalty, mental stability, and specialized aptitudes in array crafting, alchemy, poison refinement, or void stealth. He looked at Yi Meiling and Yi Tianfeng. Meiling, you will serve as the high instructor of stealth and counter-deduction. Tianfeng, you will instruct them in battle formations and defensive survival tactics. Qingfeng will teach them advanced array construction, and Zixuan will guide their alchemy. We obey the Patriarch's decree, the 6 children bowed in unison. Remember, Yi Chen added, his gaze turning stern, the students of the Shadow Academy will not be taught to seek glory, fame, or public renown. They will not participate in regional tournaments, and they will never wear proud sect uniforms. They will be trained as phantom operatives, masters of absolute survival who can erase an enemy force in total silence and vanish into the night without leaving a single speck of dust behind. 2 days later, 20 young boys and girls from the third generation stood before the golden portal at the base of the family divine tree. Dressed in simple, dark gray training robes, their young eyes were remarkably calm, shining with an intensity that far surpassed their age. Among them was Yi Tianfeng's 9-year-old son, Yi Xingqian, a boy born with a rare, natural void bloodline spirit that allowed him to blend into spatial shadows naturally. Yi Chen stepped up to the young children, looking down at his grandchildren. Grandfather, young Yi Xingqian called out, bowing respectfully with folded hands. My father told me that when we enter this portal we will not see the sun of Wang City for a long time. Is it cold inside? Yi Chen smiled gently, kneeling down to ruffle the boy's hair. It is quiet, Xingqian, but inside that quietness you will forge the strength that keeps your mothers, fathers, and siblings safe from the storms of the outer world. Are you afraid of the quiet? Yi Xingqian shook his head firmly, his small jaw setting into a line of absolute determination. Grandfather built this quiet for us. We will guard it with our lives. Good boy, Yi Chen patted his shoulder, standing up and waving his sleeve. Enter the Shadow Academy. When you step out once more, the universe will belong to your shadows. The 20 children filed into the golden portal in complete order, without a single cry or complaint. The heavy spatial doors sealed shut behind them. Inside the 100x time dilation of the void chamber, 25 years of intense, unmatched cultivation and specialized training would take place before 3 months passed in the outside world. Chapter 43, The Unseen Crucible. Inside the primordial void chamber, time flowed like a roaring river while the world outside moved at a crawl. The environment within the third spatial layer was breathtakingly grand. Under the towering canopy of the fully awakened family divine tree, Liquid primordial chi pooled into crystalline lakes. Floating islands made of ancient spatial ore hovered in the pale gold sky, connected by glowing bridges of array runes constructed by Yi Qingfeng. Here, the 23rd generation descendants underwent a training regimen that would have broken the resolve of elite disciples from the highest holy lands. In the southern training valley, Yi Meiling stood atop a floating rock, watching 10 young descendants wrapped in grade 6 phantom silk cloaks. Rule number 4 of the Yi clan Shadow Protocol. Yi Meiling's sharp voice echoed across the valley. What is your primary weapon when encountering an unknown enemy? Below her, 11-year-old Yi Xingchen vanished from sight instantly, his voice resonating from 3 different spatial coordinates simultaneously. Information and distance, instructor. If we are forced to fight, our primary weapon is absolute suppression through concealed arrays and odorless poison before the enemy even realizes we are in the same province. Swish! A faint shimmer of light flickered behind Yi Meiling. Yi Xingchen materialized behind her, his small hand holding a wooden practice blade held precisely 2 millimeters from her shoulder. Yet his spiritual aura was so completely suppressed that he registered as an inanimate rock. Yi Meiling's lips twitched with a proud smile, though her voice remained crisp. Execution speed, 0.2 seconds. Concealment, perfect. But your footstep placed slightly too much pressure on the spatial ley line beneath your left heel. A nascent soul expert with spatial sensitivity would have felt the ripple. Do it again, 1,000 times. Yes, instructor, Yi Xingchen bowed, vanishing into thin air once more. Meanwhile, in the northern Alchemy pavilion, Yi Xixuan was guiding 6 young girls in refining the complex ashen void poison. Poison is not a tool of murder, Yi Xixuan taught gently, pointing at a bubbling cauldron of silver liquid. It is a key that locks the enemy's power gently so that no blood is spilled, no cries are uttered, and no karmic ripples are sent back to our family. Purity must reach 99.9%. If a single grain of residue remains, the entire batch is thrown away. Yes, Aunt Xixuan, the young girls replied in unison, their hands steady as they controlled the alchemy fires with incredible discipline. 10 internal years passed inside the void chamber, translating to roughly 36 days in Wang City. During this decade of accelerated isolation, all 23rd generation descendants broke through to the late-stage foundation establishment realm before reaching the physical age of 15. Guided by the rich primordial chi and the flawless pills provided by Yi Chen, their foundations were broader, stronger, and purer than those of ancient sect prodigies. They learned to construct self-destructing array nodes in 3 seconds, recite every herb composition in the upper worlds, navigate spatial rifts blindly, and operate as a unified, silent unit where a single hand gesture replaced 1,000 words. Back in Wang City, Yi Chen sat by his window, holding his teacup as he monitored their progress through his spiritual link. In another 15 internal years, Yi Chen murmured with a quiet smile, they will be ready for their first breakthrough into the core formation realm. 20 core formation experts under 15 years old. Trained in absolute stealth. Chapter 44, The Gathering Storm in the Star Sector. While the Yi clan's 3rd generation was forged into supreme shadow operatives inside the 100x time-dilated void chamber, the consequences of the astral commerce fair began to surface across the central star sector. The sudden appearance of the unseen pavilion's void core carriage, pulled by 9 star-iron dragons and piloted by the mysteriously powerful Mu Chen, had fundamentally altered the political landscape of the upper 1,500 worlds. The major factions, the Star Sovereign Alliance, the Sun-Moon Sect, and the Blood Sovereign Sect, were convinced that an ancient primordial holy land had officially re-emerged to reclaim its domain. Inside a hidden, dark chamber within the headquarters of the Shadowgale Guild, the largest assassin and intelligence network in the upper realms, 3 hooded great vehicle realm elders hovered around a glowing projection of the unseen pavilion's automated trading nodes. The Star Sovereign Alliance is afraid to touch them, a raspy voice hissed from beneath a black hood. Inquisitor General Jiang was intimidated by a mere illusion of an ancient tree, but our clients do not care about ancient holy lands. They care about the fact that the unseen pavilion's automated nodes are completely disrupting the trade of spatial ores. What do you propose? Another elder asked smoothly, We cannot trace the origin of the nodes. Every time we attempt a soul deduction on their messenger, Chen, our elders suffer severe spatial backlash. We do not attack Chen, nor do we try to trace their main domain. The raspy voice chuckled darkly. The unseen pavilion operates over 300 automated trading nodes across 12 star sectors. Each node receives thousands of tons of rare ores daily before transmitting them through one-way spatial rifts. The raspy figure pointed a bony finger at the glowing map. We deploy 50 specialized voidlock anchors around 10 primary trading nodes simultaneously. When a buyer executes a trade, we intercept the spatial transmission rift mid-transit. We follow the rift's energy signature back to its receiver node. Intercepting a spatial transmission rift requires immense spatial precision, the second elder warned. If we trigger their self-destruct arrays, then we destroy 10 of their nodes and lose nothing, the raspy voice spat. But if we succeed, we locate the hidden pocket dimension where all those flawless pills and tons of spatial ores are being stored. Imagine the wealth of an ancient primordial holy land sitting right there for us to claim. Chapter 45, The First Shadow Deployment. In the quiet study of his Wang city residence, Chen's dark eyes narrowed slightly as a red warning rune flashed on his personal array monitor. Warning: automated trading nodes 42, 88, and 105 in the outer star sector are experiencing high-frequency spatial tracking interference. Source: external voidlock anchors deployed by unknown third-party forces. System analysis: enemy is attempting to intercept and trace the one-way spatial transmission rift back to the small world's receiver array. Chen did not panic. He slowly set down his teacup, a cold, mocking smile touching his lips. They think our spatial rifts are standard teleportation gates, Chen muttered softly. They have no idea that every spatial rift created by the family divine tree is protected by the karma-veiling void arrays. He activated the mental link to the tertiary layer, the primordial void chamber. Inside the 100x time-dilated chamber, 15 internal years had passed since the Shadow Academy was established. Combined with the previous 10 years, the 23rd generation descendants had spent 25 internal years in deep, uninterrupted training, while only 3 months had passed in the outside world. All 23rd generation descendants were now 17 years of age in mental maturity and physical development. Through the combination of flawless pills, primordial chi, and the divine environment, every single one of them had successfully achieved a Grade 1 flawless core formation breakthrough inside the void chamber in absolute secrecy. 20 young peak core formation shadow experts, mastering void stealth, spatial arrays, and lethal poisons, stood in a perfect grid before the golden portal, waiting. Chen's voice echoed gently inside their minds, calm as a mountain spring, yet heavy as a falling mountain. Xianxia mailing. Xianxia, now a tall, quiet youth with dark, calm eyes, stepped forward and knelt on one knee alongside mailing. Grandfather, we await your command. An unknown intelligence network has set up voidlock anchors around 3 of our automated nodes in the outer star sector, Chen instructed smoothly. They wish to trace our spatial highway. They wish to see who sits behind the curtain. Chen flicked his wrist, and 20 specialized, jet-black cloaks forged from spatial thread floated down from the sky, landing before the 20 young experts. This will be the first field trial of the Yi Clan Shadow Academy, Chen declared. Take your teams, step through the subspatial portal directly to Node 42, 88, and 105. Deploy the Ashen Void Poison, sever their tracking anchors, erase every operative present, and harvest their storage rings. Chen's voice lowered slightly, filled with profound warmth and absolute authority. Show them what happens when greed reaches into the shadows of the Yi clan. Xianxia donned his black cloak, his young face completely calm, his eyes flashing with sharp, icy brilliance. He turned to his 19 siblings and cousins, raising his hand in a silent, flawless sign language gesture. Deploy silent eradication, 0 witnesses. We obey the Patriarch's decree, the 20 shadow experts whispered in unison. They stepped into the black spatial rift, vanishing from the small world like 20 ghosts slipping into the infinite night. Chapter 46, The Silent Harvest. Outside automated Node 42, a barren, atmosphere-less asteroid floating in the dusty reaches of the outer star sector. 6 elite enforcers from the Shadowgale Guild waited in ambush. Clad in shadowy scale armor designed to absorb spiritual waves, they surrounded the moss-covered stone pillar, their eyes fixed on a glowing, silver voidlock anchor jammed deep into the asteroid's crust. "The spatial line is locked," the team leader, a mid-stage nascent soul assassin named Blood Thistle, transmitted via mental thought. "The moment the unseen pavilion's receiver array pulls the material, our anchor will piggyback on their spatial thread and pinpoint their core dimension's spatial coordinates." "Leader," a subcommander cautioned, glancing nervously around the silent cosmic dust. "What if their guards arrive?" "Guards," Blood Thistle sneered silently. "This is an automated node. They rely entirely on self-destruct arrays. They have no idea we are here." Directly behind Blood Thistle, less than 3 inches from his spine, the space did not ripple. It simply ceased to hold solid matter. Xianxia materialized out of the void, draped in his dark spatial cloak. His spiritual presence was suppressed so thoroughly that he felt no different from the frozen cosmic vacuum. Without uttering a single word, Xianxia flicked his fingers in a fluid, hypnotic sequence. Snap! An invisible, spherical boundary, the Grade 6 karma-veiling void barrier, instantly encapsulated the asteroid for 3 miles in every direction. Sound, light, spiritual communications, and even the physical vibration of spatial friction were instantly sealed in an absolute vacuum. "What?" Blood Thistle felt his heart drop into an abyss as his mental transmission failed to leave his skull. Before he could turn his head, 3 translucent needles coated in 99.9% pure ashen void poison pierced the soft flesh behind his jawline. The lethal compound surged through his meridians at lightspeed, freezing his dantian and wrapping his nascent soul in icy, unbreakable chains before his neural pathways could process pain. Simultaneously, 19 other shadow figures stepped out from the spatial folds surrounding the 5 other assassins. No flashy sword lights were unleashed, no loud shouts were uttered. Simple, flawless, 25-year trained movements executed in absolute unison. Iron blades severed spiritual pathways, Grade 6 soul-severing talismans detonated in total silence, and specialized spatial vacuum urns swept up every single drop of spilled blood before it could freeze in open space. In less than 4 seconds, 5 nascent soul assassins were cleanly dissolved into raw atomic dust. Only Blood Thistle remained alive, his eyes wide with unadulterated terror, his body paralyzed, and his throat sealed as Xianxia lightly placed a pale, cool hand atop his head. "Mind search technique, primordial soul extraction," Xianxia whispered mentally, his voice flat, devoid of malice or excitement. Grown under the 100x time dilation of the void chamber, Xianxia's soul foundation was pristine and razor-sharp. He sliced into Blood Thistle's mental defenses like a hot blade through butter, bypassing every self-destruct soul curse planted by the Shadowgale Guild. Images, structural maps, secret passcodes, and identification tokens flooded into Xianxia's mind. Location: the Obsidian Citadel, a floating fortress hidden within the Red Dust Nebula. Target: Guildmaster Vane, a late-stage nascent soul expert who controlled the entire Eastern Intelligence Network. Security: biometric blood seals and soul token monitoring arrays. Xianxia extracted the complete memory grid, then gently twisted his wrist. A small wave of spatial distortion swept over Blood Thistle, vaporizing his body, his soul, and his equipment into absolute nothingness. Xianxia turned to his deputy, young Yi Meiling's daughter, Yilinger. Target acquired, Xianxia communicated using the Shadow Academy's silent hand gestures. "We are not returning to the small world yet. We execute Phase 2, counterinfiltration." Chapter 47, The Obsidian Citadel. Deep within the churning, crimson clouds of the Red Dust Nebula, the Obsidian Citadel floated like a jagged black tooth. Constructed from dense cosmic iron and guarded by 99 layers of high-grade killing arrays, it served as the nerve center for the Shadowgale Guild's eastern operations. Inside the Grand Command Hall, Guildmaster Vane sat upon a throne made of bone iron, nursing a cup of spirit wine. Before him suspended a floating array plate displaying the status of their 300 active intelligence agents across the star sector. Report on the voidlock operation at Node 42, Vane ordered coldly. A masked communications officer bowed low. Guild Master, Blood Thistle's team deployed the anchor 20 minutes ago. However, 3 minutes ago, their signal went quiet. Vane's eyes narrowed into slits. Quiet, did the node self-destruct? No, sir. The node remains intact and functional, the officer replied, checking the glowing runes. Furthermore, Blood Thistle's primary soul token in our ancestral hall remains completely intact and radiant. He has not fallen. Vane relaxed slightly, taking a sip of his wine. If his soul token is intact, he is simply maintaining radio silence while tracking the spatial rift. Good. Tell the perimeter guards to stay alert. What Guild Master Vane did not know was that Blood Thistle's soul token was indeed intact. Because Xianxia had used a specialized soul-sustaining karma array to keep Blood Thistle's residual soul flame burning inside a jade jar inside his storage ring, completely fooling the Citadel's monitoring array. Outside the Obsidian Citadel's heavy iron gates, a single flying vessel bearing Blood Thistle's personal insignia broke through the crimson nebula clouds. The automated defense arrays scanned the vessel's blood seal and soul frequency. Scan complete, Commander Blood Thistle verified, access granted. The colossal iron gates slowly rumbled open, allowing the vessel to glide smoothly into the Citadel's lower landing bay. Chapter 48, The Threat of Puppets. The landing bay was quiet, illuminated only by faint, blue spirit flames flickering along the stone walls. 10 armored guards stepped forward to receive the returning vessel. Commander Blood Thistle, the guard captain called out, bowing slightly. Did you secure the spatial coordinates of the unseen pavilion? The cabin door opened. Stepping out was Blood Thistle, or rather, a flawless, automated spirit puppet clad in Blood Thistle's original scale armor, its outer appearance and spiritual aura perfectly disguised by Yi Chen's grade 6 illusion-veiling form. We secured the coordinates, the puppet Blood Thistle replied in an exact match of the commander's raspy voice. I must present the memory slip to Guild Master Vane immediately. Assemble all senior squad leaders in the central chamber for the debriefing. Understood, Commander, the guard captain bowed, turning to activate the Citadel's internal summoning bell. Within 15 minutes, 32 core division leaders, grand intelligence officers, and array masters assembled inside the Obsidian Citadel's central chamber. Sitting atop his high bone throne, Guild Master Vane looked down at Blood Thistle with a mixture of greed and satisfaction. Blood Thistle, Vane said, his voice echoing through the stone hall. You have done well. Hand over the jade slip containing the unseen pavilion's spatial coordinates. The guild will reward you with 3 grade 5 breakthrough pills. The puppet Blood Thistle stepped forward, lifting a glowing, silver jade slip above his head. Guild Master, the coordinates are recorded within. However, this slip requires 3 people to unseal its spatial lock simultaneously. Vane frowned slightly, but his greed outweighed his caution. Array Master Chen, Vice Guild Master Zhao stepped down and assist. The 2 senior nascent soul officers stepped down from the dais, placing their hands alongside Vane's onto the silver jade slip. A faint, pleasant smile touched the puppet's face. Click. The silver jade slip did not reveal spatial coordinates. Instead, it unfolded into an exquisite, complex miniature matrix, the grade 6 karma inversion array. Instantly, an invisible, impenetrable spatial domain expanded from the jade slip, enveloping the entire central chamber in 3 milliseconds. Before Guild Master Vane or the 32 division leaders could even raise their spiritual energy to unleash a single attack, 20 shadows materialized out of the marble floor beneath their feet. Xianxia and his 19 classmates moved like precise, surgical instruments. 28 division leaders were struck simultaneously behind the ear with ashen void poison needles. Their meridians froze, their dantians were locked, and their mouths were sealed before they could let out a single breath. Intruders, Guild Master Vane roared, his late-stage nascent soul aura erupting like a volcano as he tried to shatter the spatial domain. Xianxia appeared directly above Vane's head, his dark cloak billowing. He did not use a sword. He simply pressed a small, golden jade plate forged by Yi Chen directly against Vane's forehead, the grade 6 celestial soul control matrix. Absorb, Xianxia commanded softly. Buzz, a golden wave of divine consciousness, carrying the terrifying, absolute weight of Yi Chen's enlightened sovereign aura stored within the plate, slammed straight into Vane's soul sea. Vane's resistance lasted less than 2 seconds before his consciousness was completely rewritten, his absolute loyalty bound forever to the patriarch of the Yi clan. Within 4 minutes, the entire central command of the largest assassin and intelligence network in the outer star sector had been completely subdued, neutralized, and bound, without a single drop of blood staining the white marble floor, and without a single alarm sounding outside the hall. Chapter 49, The Spider's New Web. An hour later, the spatial domain collapsed back into the silver slip. Inside the central chamber of the Obsidian Citadel, everything appeared completely normal. Guildmaster Vane sat upon his bone-iron throne, his eyes clear, his aura steady. Surrounding him, the 32 division leaders stood at their posts, attending to their daily duties. To any external observer, the Shadowgale Guild was operating exactly as it had for centuries. However, deep within their soul seas, every single leader now answered to a single, hidden absolute authority, the Yi clan. Standing quietly beside Vane's throne, Xianxia unrolled a glowing spatial scroll connected directly to Yi Chen's study in Wang City. Father, Xianxia transmitted respectfully across the spatial link. Phase 2 is complete. The Shadowgale Guild's eastern headquarters, including its entire intelligence network spanning 72 star systems, has been fully secured. Guildmaster Vane and all core division leaders are bound. Inside his quiet study in Wang City, Yi Chen took a slow sip of hot tea, a faint, satisfied smile appearing on his lips. Exceptional work, Xianxia, Yi Chen replied, his voice resonating softly in his grandson's mind. How are the losses on our side? 0 casualties, grandfather, Xianxia replied proudly. Not a single third-generation descendant sustained a scratch. We executed the mission strictly according to the Shadow Protocol. Good, Yi Chen nodded. Now we convert the enemy's knife into our shield. Yi Chen laid out his instructions clearly. First, the Shadowgale Guild will publicly announce that the investigation into the unseen pavilion yielded no results, and that any further attempts to interfere with the automated nodes will result in the immediate blacklisting of the offending faction from all intelligence markets. Second, Yi Chen continued, you will integrate the Shadowgale Guild's vast intelligence network into our small world. Every secret, every trade route, and every major conflict brewing among the top sects of the upper worlds will now be funneled directly to my desk. Third, Yi Chen's eyes flared with cool, strategic brilliance. Use the Guild's shadow channels to feed false, conflicting intelligence to the Star Sovereign Alliance whenever they attempt to search for ancient holy lands in our lower province. Keep them chasing ghosts in the central continents. Xianxia obeys the Patriarch's decree. The young shadow leader bowed deeply. Chapter 50, The Unseen Patriarch. 3 weeks passed in the outside world. Across the upper 1,500 worlds, the rumors surrounding the unseen pavilion underwent a dramatic transformation. The Shadowgale Guild, the most ruthless, greedy intelligence network in the star sector, issued an official high-level decree declaring the unseen pavilion a forbidden neutral entity. They quietly refunded all bounties placed on the automated nodes and wiped all related tracking files from their archives. This sudden, total submission by a major dark market faction sent a chilling message through the major sects. The unseen pavilion was untouchable. Even the deadliest assassins in the star sector bowed to their invisible authority. The automated nodes flourished like never before. Hundreds of tons of rare spatial minerals, ancient jade slips, and primordial seeds poured into Yi Chen's small world every single day, feeding the expanding forge world and enriching the spiritual ley lines of all 3 spatial layers. Inside the 100x time-dilated void chamber, the 23rd generation descendants of the Shadow Academy returned to their quiet cultivation under the family divine tree. Having completed their first real-world deployment with flawless precision, their temperaments were now as steady and unbreakable as refined gold. In Wang City, the morning mist gently drifted through the quiet streets. Yi Chen sat outside his modest tea shop, pouring hot water into a clay teapot. The steam rose gently into the cool morning air, carrying the subtle fragrance of spiritual leaves grown in his private paradise. To the local mortals walking past, he was Boss Yi, a polite, low-profile man who enjoyed quiet mornings, sold good tea, and led a peaceful, unremarkable life. None of them knew that the soft-spoken tea merchant sitting before them commanded an invisible empire spanning across dozens of star sectors, controlled the premier intelligence network of the upper realms, and raised 3 generations of flawless, immortal prodigies beneath the quiet soil of their small city. Chen lifted his teacup to his lips, taking a slow, satisfying sip. The world outside was vast, loud, and filled with endless strife. But here, in the quiet shadows of his own making, the Hidden Patriarch smiled, watching his eternal family grow in absolute, unbroken peace.